Hi, this is Becky Nunn and Cynthia, and we're here on location at Nunn Design today, and I'm going to be showing Cynthia and the rest of you how to make an open framed necklace. We're going to use one of our open frame pieces, and we're going to fill it with resin that's been colorized, and you can see how you can make really fun and unique pieces. Okay, so Cynthia, for this we're going to do a mini tutorial showing how you can use open frames. By putting a piece of tape on the back, you can create these fun pieces like we're seeing here,
right?
Using these open frame. On this I just used a two-part resin that was clear,
Okay.
and on this I used a two-part resin that is colorized.
Okay.
So I'll show you how we're going to do that.
Yeah, I've never did that, so I cannot wait to see how you do this.
This is fun. It's super fun. So these are the open frames. They have a little piece that's soldered on the top, and they're plated. And to create the backing, you just take a piece of packing tape, and we have in the warehouse this really thick packing tape. I really like the thick stuff. So you place your piece down on there, and go ahead and burnish it down by just rubbing it back and forth on your table.
Okay.
Like such. And then I tend to trim away my excess tape, because if you don't, you end up getting that caught on something at some really dangerous moment, like when you're full of resin or something. So go ahead and remove the excess pieces of tape off of yours. And let's go ahead and do this little one, and we can fill it with the
That's really
clear.
cute, a small size too.
And on this piece here, I just trimmed away with a pair of flush cutters.
Okay.
And mixed resin to fill that part, and then mixed resin to fill that part, to get that duotone look as well.
Wow. But did you start with one color first and did the other one, or?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I poured the black in first, or you can pour the purple in first.
Right.
I didn't let one cure before I did the other one, if that's what you're asking. I did them both at the same time.
And the color pretty much stay, I mean, like when I'm looking at the purple, I would think that the color will bleed on the black one, but not really.
Nope, because it's adhered to the back side of that. Actually, this is the back side. This was the front side.
Okay.
So you can see that this is a little bit under poured.
Right.
But then when you flip it over, that's where the tape came off, and that's what gave it that nice flat look on that side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So let's go ahead and start with these. See what I mean? If you have too much tape, leave me alone! Get out of there! So let's go ahead and clear off these fun little projects, and we'll clear off that one for now too. So we have our pieces, have a little bit of tape right on the back side. We burnish them down. On this, I'll start with it. I already have some two-part resin that I just went ahead and mixed. And since we're going to do a clear on this one, I'm not going to add the colorants into it yet.
Okay.
And I have these cute little pieces that I just constantly pulling stuff out of the garden or my neighbor's garden, that I put into little containers, and then throughout the year I can have fun little bits of things that I can create with. So I just pulled off a little bit of the stem to see if we can get that in there. And you might want to use like a pair of tweezers for this, just to kind of position the organics right where you'd like them. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So go ahead and remove your extra little pieces.
So now I'm starting to think, okay, what kind of plant can I grab from my garden?
Just grab it all, just grab it all and let it dry, and then it seems like the projects constantly are presenting themselves to you. See, my fingers are now stuck to it. Okay, so then you just go ahead and release it off. Now I have my two-part. I already followed all the manufacturer's instructions, and I mixed it all together, and it's still nice and soft. And you're just going to drizzle just a couple little teeny drops right into the bezel. And at first you don't need to be worried about if there's any air bubbles, but
Right.
There's something about air bubbles on these that make it a lot more appealing than
that's
when you have images.
true.
I don't know, it just, especially like if you're doing like an underwater theme or
Yeah.
something like that.
It will look like you did it in purpose.
That's right.
And I can see I will tend to just pour from the cup, but you're taking
I'm taking
from the stick.
Yeah,
and then,
taking tiny little bits
Mhm.
because it's always easiest to add to
right.
than it is to clean up. So I'm always under pouring and then
Okay.
adding more. And then with like a head pin or a toothpick,
Mhm.
you're going to want to go in and move your resin around, or you can reposition this.
Right. So you have to make sure that whatever you put inside is really covered with resin, right?
Yes. You know, if you wanted it to stick out a little bit, you can too. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm pressing it down
Mhm.
into, because the resin made that little organic kind of rise to the surface,
Okay.
and I'm pressing it down. I highly don't recommend you use a pair of tweezers, but if you had like a
Okay.
head pin or toothpick, you'd go in
Right.
and press that down. I'm also pressing it down and I'm adhering it to the tape,
Right.
so it'll stay down in there. And
Okay.
when I'm doing that, I'm also just kind of scooching it around. That will also make any of the little air bubbles that are in there
Mhm.
sort of release. And just by slightly moving the resin around, it makes those little air bubbles pop.
Oh, okay.
And you're just bringing them to the surface. And then you're just going to let that sit there and cure
Right.
anywhere from 24 to 48
Mhm.
hours.
Okay.
Is what it will take for that piece to cure. So let's go ahead and just move him over here so he has a nice little drying spot while we
And I
move
have to
on
say, it's the first time that I'm okay with bubbles in there. That's so cute.
Yeah, they will start to lessen
Okay.
as the piece starts to cure, and we'll be going back in and just like slightly pressing it, and as that resin
yeah.
starts to get a little bit thicker,
Mhm.
when you press it down, it will stay down.
Okay, yeah.
But it does look neat even
It
if it's
does.
raised to the surface,
It does.
because
Yes.
this could also be the back side.
Oh,
and
I
that front
see.
side's going to be
Mhm.
nice and flat.
Right.
So on this, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of colorant to our resin first,
Okay.
before we place it inside of there. So what we're going to use for this particular one to make that orange is we're using the Casting Craft color pigment in the yellow and in the red, and just a teeny tiny
Okay.
bit will make that orangish color that we're after. So we have our 2-part resin that we've already mixed,
Mhm.
and we're just going to go ahead. Again, this is a great time to have like a toothpick or something like that, so it's really easy to control exactly how much you put
Right.
into your mixed resin. So I just grabbed a little, it's not really a toothpick, but I'm just squeezing a little bit out on the
Mhm.
top, instead of just pouring it in there, just a teeny
Okay.
tiny bit, because we don't need even probably that much. It's going to be a little bit too much.
Wow.
So again, you're just wanting to just put a tiny, tiny bit in there, and you can always add more.
Okay.
But it's hard. You have to keep on adding more and more resin to dilute it.
Oh, I see.
If you didn't want it quite that pink or quite that orange.
Okay.
And I'm going to do the same with the yellow. The
Good.
things that I have had a hard time with mixing colorants is making batches consistent time to
Oh, I
time.
see.
It's not that it's not possible, it's just I haven't done it enough to always get
Mhm.
exactly the same. But I use that also as a selling point, because, it's kind of nice to have pieces in your collection, especially if you're selling jewelry, that are different.
Yes,
Because then
it
everybody's
is.
like, whoa, that's really handmade.
Mhm.
So we don't have nearly enough colorants in there, and that's why it's
Okay.
really translucent, which is a neat look in itself.
Right.
But we want to have a little bit more opaque to it. So you just keep on, just like
Just a little-
everything is much easier to keep adding
Right.
than it is to keep on adding more of the clear. So we'll just keep on adding a little bit more pigment until we get that color the way that we want.
And the resin takes time to cure, so you have time to really play with it too.
You do. Not a whole heck of a lot of
Right.
time, but we have plenty of time to just keep on adding to it until we get the color that we want. This is kind of fun.
That's really nice.
It's
yes.
like a tangerine
Yeah.
sort of color.
Like a sunset.
Yay! That works. We'll go with it. All right, so I'm just going ahead and moving my colorants off to the side, and now fully mixing that 2-part resin And, over time, this will get thicker and thicker, and you can keep on pouring into as many bezels as you have ready until you've used all of your extra resin that's in here. So same as we showed last time with the clear, just putting a little bit onto my stick.
Okay.
And just kind of pouring it right into the piece.
And so don't be impatient and try to pour everything at once, but just go slowly and just pour little by little.
As you get more and more familiar with exactly how much it's going to take to go into there, you will be able to go much faster. But when you're first starting out, you always want to just take your time and just know that, you might have to keep on adding. But like I said, it's so much easier to keep adding than it is to over pour. So I'm just paying attention to the volume, and this resin is a doming resin, so it just wants to know where the sides are, and then it'll start to automatically dome. So on one side of our piece it will be slightly domed. If we wanted it to be less, we could have put in a slight bit less, and then on the other side it'll be nice and flat. So then we're just gonna.
So you could wear it both ways.
You can wear it both ways.
Okay.
Most people won't even notice the difference between the dome side and the non-dome side. But so we're gonna set that aside over here and let that dry.
Okay.
Here are some pieces that I did earlier that are now cured. And what you do once you have your piece already cured, you just peel away that tape off the back, and sometimes you'll have a little bit of residue on the back side of your piece, and if so, you can take a wet wipe and rub it off. And if it's really stubborn, you can use have you ever used that citrus Gooby Gone?
Oh right, yes, for your hands.
For your hands, yeah, like when you're working on projects, you just put a little bit of that onto the back side, and it'll rub away that excess adhesive that you might have on the back.
So it's pretty easy to clean up then?
It is pretty easy to clean up. And then you have your little piece.
That is really nice.
And this piece here, you had a little mini tutorial of using the glitter rocks. And so this is an example of using the open back bezels. You can use it with the 2-part resin, mixing the glitter rock. Again, trimmed off that excess little loop, placed it also on the plastic, put the glitter rock in one color on the outside, glitter rock on the inside, and then you just remove the plastic from the back. Sometimes if you have a spill on the sides right here, it's super easy to go in and just use a pair of scissors, and you can literally just cut off the resin off of the edge, because you don't want to wait until it's super hard. It's still a little bit malleable, and you can just trim it away from the sides. So even if you do over pour, or if it seeps out, it's okay. You can go back in and cut it away from that piece.
That's a great tip. I love the effect of this. You put a lot on one side and a little on the other side, and it's a really nice effect. Those are great. Oh, thank you so much. That was such a great project.
It's super simple too.
Yes, it is.
So this is Becky Nunn at Nunn Design. We're shooting here on location with Artbeads, and Cynthia is joining me, and we just learned how to use 2-part resin with a little bit of colorant, open back frame with a piece of tape. Thanks for joining us.